So let's get ready
Down
for
there.
round 2 of IronTide versus Shadows. All right. Welcome to round 2, everybody. Let's tell our players that they are good to go, and let's get started here.
Okay, so we're at the mulligan screen and looking at Irontide's hand. A carver, a burglar, a devourer, 4 power. So all the sack payoffs and no sack fodder. And oh gosh, has to eventually mulligan to 6.
Yeah, no good there. And then on Shadow side, they've got a Hojin, a Royal Decree, a Dazzle, an Ice Bolt, and a Strategize. And a Fire Sigil, which is not something you think you'd see with that hand, but sure enough, there it is. Fire Sigil into Hojin. I guess that's the even one here.
So this is not your usual stock FJP control list. This is a bit more out of the ordinary. So turn 3, even-handed golem, which is going to allow Hojin to just smash in here for 4. I have to imagine. I have to imagine that one of those cards in there is a power. And there we go. Crest of Glory is going to scout something to the bottom, and Hojin's going to swing in here for.
Right, Granite Waystone off the top for Irontide. That's a little awkward. So both their broken contract and their Granite Waystone, it's fine. It really doesn't change much, but it kind of stinks a little bit to have your utility power not really benefit you at all with the 2 that you drew there.
It happens when you play enough utility power. At some point, you're going to have to accept the fact that, hey, some of it is going to come in without providing its utility early game. But this Roto Scavenger is going to trigger because of the urgent missive to sacrifice that 1/2. I forget what it's called. Takes that to Hojin, and Irontide is sitting kind of pretty at this point, but they're looking for some sacrifice card draw fodder eventually.
Yeah, and it looks like I think the Shadows just saw a Seer off the top, and I think is going to keep that one on top and attacking here with the even-handed Golem. Irontide could have taken the free block, but instead just took the 1 damage, and that's going to trigger that Royal Decree, turn both of those smugglers into Seek powers, and that is actually brutal. Royal Decree, I think it's maybe overhyped sometimes for what it actually does, but that was pretty brutal there. Ironhide needed those smugglers, and now they're in a much worse shape.
Oh yeah, that was just oops. There goes the rest of the hand. So Irontide is on top deck mode. Shadows knows Irontide is on top deck mode. Meanwhile, Shadows just has a full grip. Just I've lost count of how many cards are in there because of that card back. But it's a lot.
All right, it's just going to start off with Strategize, and you got to feel good about that. When you're still at 23 health, your opponent is the beatdown, and you can just take some time off and strategize and play out your power. Pretty good. I think, though, Shadows is missing power now, has no more power in hand, didn't draw one off of that Strategize. They have things to do. They have a Vargo, Red Claw, they have a Svetya, but they're going to want to keep on developing their power. They're not going to want to sit here forever and just what they have in hand, but hand's pretty good. There's a Howling Peak on top. I think Shadows is okay because they have time and Irontide's not doing anything, so they're not in bad shape.
Right.
But if this was a different game, or if they were facing Yetis, or if they were facing a better draw from Irontide's deck, this would be a little awkward, but I don't think Shadows is too worried at this point.
Right.
Plus, they have the Huntress to get a power if they really want it, which they do. They're going to go ahead and get that 6 power so they can Howling Peak next turn, or Svetya. Yeah. Urgent missive, sack a unit to play 2 cultists. I mean, that's fine, but that's not really the sack payoff you were talking about.
No, that's an enabler. We need some card draw here. But out comes Special Lightbringer, and I have to tell you, she is an absolute beating against these sacrifice decks because everything they do depends on playing units, sacrificing them to draw more stuff that creates units, and Oh boy, this game is looking
This,
pretty close
yeah,
to
this
over.
game's pretty over at this point.
Yep, Howling Peak. Oh, you didn't like to be time walked for one turn with
Oh
Spectre?
my
How about
goodness. How
two?
about another one? How about another one? And that's just going to put IronTide down to 2. Nothing. I don't think there's anything IronTide can draw in their deck here. Yeah,
Nope.
Shadows is
Well,
just going to go ahead and take that one.
four lethal. Don't even need the lethal attackers. Caleb's favor to top it off.
Alrighty, congratulations to Shadows on taking the first one. Alrighty, while we're waiting for them to get started, let's pull up Shadows deck on screen here. What is this even deck we're looking at?
So this, unlike the usual FJP you see, is more of a mid-range deck. Actually, it is trying to establish the board with units backed up by some interactions, such as a pair of ice bolts, a set of seers, but that's literally it as far as early game interaction goes. Uh, Beyond that, they just have dazzles for some negates and to maybe stun some attackers. Uh, but aside from that, they're just trying to brawl with Vargo Redclaw, Wasteland Brokers, and eventually get to Fetches and Howling Peaks. And in the deck, in the market, the Wasteland Broker market, they have Replication Cell, Kamoni Dusk Rider, End of the Story, Stormhalt Knife, and Stone Smelt Dragon, which they aim to draw with Honor Claws, Strategize, and Even Handed Golem. So a mid-range control-ish deck, really looking to get rolling with Even-Handed Golem and do as Even-Handed Golem decks do. Not something I would have ever considered brewing up. We'll have to see how it does.
Well, I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with some of the decks. You know, going into this, we didn't necessarily think that we were going to see a lot of new, fresh takes, but I'm pretty happy with what we've seen so far. But they're ready, so let's head down to game 2.
Oh yeah, we have definitely seen some interesting decks tonight. That's for sure.
Alrighty, looking at a Hojin Crownbreaker on top, and I think that Shadows just kept that on top there. A little bit stronger hand here for IronTide, a little bit less power flooded. They've got a lot of action early, but there is that Royal Decree in Shadow's hand. I don't think that's going to be quite as impactful this game as it was last game. I mean, last game IronTide was totally out of gas, needed 2 copies of the same card, needed it, and that was just backbreaking. But I don't think Royal Decree is going to have the same effect here. Taking one of these cards is totally fine with IronTide.
They really want to get the smuggler out of hand this turn, I think. Bunch of 1 and 2 cost cards, and that key utility component, that smuggler. They know Royal Decree is in the deck. I think they're going to want to play it, but at the same time, they can also deploy the Roto Scavenger and I think the Urgent Missive to take out the Hojin. So that might actually be a stronger play this. So okay,
All
we
right.
are not
Well,
going
here
to
comes the Roto
see.
Scavenger and the Gleaming Granadin attacking through here. All right, there's a Vargo Redclaw off the top. One more power. This one's coming in depleted for Shadows, but that's okay because it's an even deck anyway. It's not like they were going to use
Right,
that third power. And here comes that Royal Decree. Still effective, I think, taking that Smuggler, but as I mentioned, a little bit less backbreaking as it was last game.
right. Iron Tide at least has things to do.
They can
Yeah, and I
also
think
they can
that
also kill this Hojin, right? Pesky Wire Chewer, summon you may sacrifice another unit to deal 2. They can definitely just sack this, take care of that Hojin. I think that's what you do this turn. You don't want that Hojin getting out of hand.
no, it's a free kill.
There you go. Turn your
Let,
0-1 into a
let's
removal spell. That's pretty good. Let's do some
yep, let's
damage.
let's get the Ojin out of here. And now Shadows has a full grip and
Mm.
no board
No,
against.
no power either, though. They're going to have to hit some power off of this. They don't. They miss and they miss. So no 4th power for Shadows. That's pretty damaging as an even deck. Now, they do have a Huntress next turn. They had a Huntress this turn, too. But they don't have the double Primal either. So a little bit awkward hand for Shadows here.
Right. One of the biggest killers of, players in Eternal, missing on power in high tempo situations and just dying with a full grip to, you know, uh, an
Mm.
an empty-handed opponent that's just you know snowballing the game down.
Yeah,
Shadow's really under the gun to take care of this Roto Scavenger.
they need an
Has
undepleted
to.
power here, and they don't get it. Oh no. You hate
That's
to see
a
it. This is
miss on the house.
unfortunate for anyone, but I don't think Shadows is getting out of this one. Even if they draw power here, actually, I think
I don't.
no, they can't can't cast combust because you don't have a target for it. Uh, but it's not going to matter. Shadow's going to go out in style though and sear themselves in the face. So
Ugh.
congratulations to IronTide on tying it up 1 game apiece, and we're going to head to another game 3. All right.
Yep.
Meanwhile, some back tables. We've got some results for round 2. So these players are going to start at that critical 2-0. We've got our champion from last week, Pleasing Sky 4, starting off 2-0. We've got our champion from the Invitational, Doc 28, starting out 2-0. And we've also got the Boxer starting out 2-0. So congrats to those 3 players on a quick 2-0. That's exactly how you want to start. And again, pretty big names there. Your week 1 champion, and then the Boxer and Doc 28. Pretty good company.
Oh boy. So Sling, Giral, and so Doc on Giral, and Pleasing Sky on Sling, and who's that third player?
The Boxer.
Oh, how can I forget? Let me see what Boxer is on. Destruction Rats. Oh boy. So we have a bunch of spicy meatballs coming out tonight. Yep. So FTS. Yeah, this stuff when it gets going, it really gets going.
All right, our
So
players are ready for game
congratulations to
3.
those
Let's make
three.
sure to tell them that they are good to go here. Let's get ready for game 3.
So IronTide looking at the classic 1 power mulligan, that's gonna go away. And picks up kind of in a shrine. I think I like this better than a random 6.
Yeah, I think so too. You gotta love Shadow's Hand though. 4 power, Dazzle, Ice Bolt, and Joe, and you just sit back and say, "Yeah, this will work. It'll get
No.
there. Don't worry about it." You got treasure troves, you got dazzles, you got plunders, you got removal. It'll be fine. It'll all work out.
Oh boy. Was
Petition off the top for Shadows. So Shadows is going to take a couple turns to get going here. They got some crests. They got some petitions. Ooh, even-handed golem is a nice one to see on top with that crest.
ooh. Ooh, that's exactly what you're looking for. Golem on 2. Every Golem deck's favorite card. Short of turn 2 ramp into turn 3 Golem with a 2-drop.
All right, here comes that golem on 2. Going to draw another Dazzle and another Joe and another Treasure Trove along with it. So lots of cards in hand for Shadows. They're going to discard for turn, but you're free to discard that Joe. It's done its job. You got that Treasure Trove. We haven't seen Joe
Yep.
quite as much recently as we used to. Prior to Silexes and and plundering, that was your key way to get card advantage. But now there's a lot of ways to do that, so you don't see Joe quite as much as you used to.
Right, right. Yeah, you know what? Why pay 2? For a treasure trove and still need to market away the Fatso Dragon when you can just play a 1 cost protection spell on your Kira.
Exactly. All right, Shadows drew a painting for turn there, so having that 2 power, they have a lot to do. You could just draw a card off a treasure trove. You could petition for a power that you want. I don't think there's any reason to hold up Dazzle at this point. Probably don't need to fire off the Ice Bolt, so yeah, just petition, get some power, and keep developing.
Yep, it's just a 2-1. Kind of gonna get scary late game, but right now, kind of just a 2-1 for 2. Who
Yeah,
cares?
you'd much rather save your move or something like this, Kindling Carver, which is going to be some card advantage. And nice Kindling Carver, flipping another Kindling Carver is pretty nice. Does Shadows have any sort of ramp in this deck? Or I'm sorry, any sort of wraths or board wipes in this deck that they take care of? Because this is
I
getting
bel Yeah, this is getting sticky. Uh, let's see here. Um,
a huge turn for
let me
Irontide that turn.
let me take a
Wow.
look. Even-handed. No, they have no main deck sweepers. Just the end of the story in the market. So even if they were to wasteland broker it in, there'd still be some lag as to when it actually showed up.
Yeah, so this is a little awkward now with that shrine. And then having Urgent Missive in hand, Shadow's going to have to use Seer Ice Bolt to take out 1/1s, which isn't great. That's not what you want to
Ugh.
do. It'll slow it down though, but IronTide is in a pretty good spot at this point.
So IronTide can just jam for another. I think that's lethal. You urgent missive away the little 0-1,
You know, one.
and then slam your smuggler, and that's 12 plus 5 is 17. That's lethal on board. Let's see if IronTide sees it.
We're gonna go smuggler first. Get a Krull. Krull also might be able to get lethal too. Another Kindling Carver. Yeah, and here's that urgent missive, as you mentioned. Getting that O1. This will be more than enough with that Krull. There you go. Quick win. We were just talking about Shadows having a good hand and getting set up, but that was too slow. That was a turn. Basically, Shadows didn't get to their turn 5. That was a turn 5 kill for IronTide, but Shadows only saw 4 turns and they were dead.